Hi, this is Terry Collins, the manager of the New York Mets, and you're listening to Sports Talk New York.
And welcome back to WLIE 540am Sports Talk New York. Mark Rosa and Brett Topel sitting with you this Sunday evening. Brett in for AJ. That voice you just heard is our next guest manager. Because joining us now is the man who was drafted by the Washington Nationals in the first round of the 2007 Major League Baseball draft out of Calhoun High School in Calhoun, Georgia. Like so many players, his road to the majors has been a series of ups and downs. In 2008, he underwent surgery on a bone spur in his shoulder. In 2013, Dr. James Andrews performed surgery on him to repair a torn rotator cuff and labrum. His fastball velocity was declining. The Nationals organization released him without ever having played higher than Class A advanced. After sitting out the 2013 season while recovering from surgery, he played for the Rockford Aviators of the Frontier League in 2014, where a side session led him to signing with the New York Mets. He was promoted to the major leagues on August 19, 2016, made his major league debut that day. He picked up his first major league win 10 days later after pitching a scoreless 10th inning against the Miami Marlins at Citi Field. It is a pleasure to welcome New York Mets relief pitcher Josh Smoker to WLIE Sports Talk New York. Welcome, Josh.
Hey, guys. How are y'all?
Doing good. You know, in the open, we mentioned that you were a first-round draft pick of the Nats. I actually went back to the May 22nd, 2007 Baseball America's draft prospects and read the reports. They basically had, pitching-wise, they had David Price at number 1, Rick Porcello at number 4, Matt Harvey at 11, Madison Bumgarner at 14, and you at 16. The scouting report on you was as follows. He'll run his fastball in on right-handers, snap his curve for swing and miss pitch, and lean on his splitter for strikeouts, as it at times can be unhittable. He pitches with fervor and guile, endearing himself to teammates and scouts alike. He isn't expected to get much bigger, but he's athletic and durable, profiling as a number 2 or a number 3 starter. Now that you've gone through the surgeries that we mentioned in the open, do you believe that you can still become a starter, or do you view your role going forward as strictly in the bullpen at this point?
I've always been a high-intensity guy, and if you'd have asked me that question maybe 5-6 years ago, I would have said I would most definitely would want to be a starter again. But I feel like I've really accepted the role that I've been put in and feel really comfortable doing it. With my intensity, I think, going out there for 1 or 2 innings, I think that's probably most suitable for me. But at the same time, I'm really open to whatever the team that I'm with wants me to do. I'm just here to help the team win, and whether that's the starter, reliever, it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just glad to have the opportunity to go out and throw the baseball.
You know, it's also interesting because, as we mentioned, you're drafted out of high school, and as a high school kid, reading those names, and to put that in perspective and what they've become, and then emotionally to have to go through those range of injuries, how difficult was it at such a young age to have to deal with all that adversity when I'm sure you basically had your whole career mapped out in your mind ahead of you?
Oh, it was definitely tough. Anytime you're drafted, I've said it before, if you're drafted, you have every expectation to pitch in the big leagues, and obviously you think it's going to be an easy road to get there, and you're not going to have any road bumps. But unfortunately, that's not really the way it worked out for me. But at the same time, I think those injuries really helped me deal with adversity. It taught me how to pitch when you're not necessarily going to have your best stuff. I think there were a lot of positives that came from it. Obviously I would have liked to have had a little bit easier journey, but at the same time, it's part of the game, and I definitely learned from it.
Mentally, I have to imagine it's also tough because shoulder surgery is a lot different than Tommy John. Tommy John, there's so many major leaguers that you can look at and know exactly what the rehab and the timetable is, and guys have gone through it. They've been successful when they come back. Not so many with the shoulder. So, you're down there in the Frontier League, which is so far from the majors and so far from glamorous. Was there one thing or one person who helped you keep focus on overcoming all those obstacles to fulfill your dream of pitching in the majors?
I don't think I can really single out one person. I think it was a wide array of people, from family members to my manager that I had in Rockford to some of my old high school coaches. There were really a lot of people that were behind me and really pushing me, even at times when I thought that I wasn't going to be able to get back to where I ultimately wanted to be. So I definitely owe a lot to them, and At the same time, I went into Rockford trying to treat it as kind of rehabbing and getting my shoulder back to where I wanted it to be. But yeah, I mean, there were so many people that were there to help me. I mean, my dad was a huge inspiration. He helped me get to where I am now. My wife helped me get to where I am. I mean, there's so many people, that really helped me get to where I am now.
Hey, Josh, after going through all those injuries at such a young age and early in your career, it obviously affected you physically, but in an ironic way, did they make you a better pitcher?
Most definitely. Anybody can pitch in high school when they're mid-90s and be successful. In the lower levels. I had never really dealt with any arm troubles coming through high school. I was always one of those guys that could long toss every day. I could throw out the mound every day and never had any issues. And for whatever reason, it just kind of went from feeling great to having all kinds of arm troubles, basically from the time I signed with the Nationals. So yeah, I mean, going out every day knowing you don't have your best stuff, it's definitely frustrating. But at the same time, you're pitching for a job, and you have to really, you have to find ways to be competitive and to be successful. So it definitely taught me how to pitch inside a lot more. The professional hitters can turn around an 85-mile-an-hour fastball pretty easy. So, like I said, pitching inside, having to mix pitches up, rely on my breaking ball in certain situations where a hitter might be looking for a fastball, pitching behind in the count, change-ups, curveballs, things like that. So it definitely helped me, and I think I've actually been able to bring that to where I'm at now that I've finally gotten my stuff back. It's really helped me improve as far as just, being an all-around pitcher, and so it's most definitely helped me.
We're talking with New York Mets pitcher Josh Smoker. We mentioned in the open that you came to the Mets' attention while throwing one of your side sessions with the Aviators. It's pretty interesting because it wasn't your typical side session, something deviated, and because of that, that got you back to the majors. Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so I was this was the winter after that year with the Rockford Aviators in the Frontier League. And I was throwing some bullpens and just trying to get some guys to come watch me. Nothing was really happening of it. And I'd actually had the same guy catch my bullpen for a long time. It had been he had caught me for years, and I don't think he had ever missed one bullpen. And just so happens that on one particular day, he called me, said he wasn't going to be able to make it, that he was sick, and he got me set up with another guy named Paul Fletcher, and he's another independent league pitching coach, and he caught my bullpen, and come to find out he was a bird dog scout for the Mets. So he gave him a call, and next thing I know, I'm getting a call from a Met scout and asking if I'd come down to spring training and throw for him, and that's what happened.
It's amazing how things work out in the world of baseball. Now, you make your way up in the Mets minor leagues. In 2015 in AA, a staff at times that had Steven Matz, Seth Lugo, Robert Gesellman, Michael Fulmer, Gabriel and Noah. When you see that much depth in the minors at the pitching level and the staff at the major league level, and then the Mets give you a spot on the 40-man roster, what does that do for your confidence, and how does that affirm that you can be a major leaguer?
I think because I had been in pro ball for such a long time and never, honestly, hadn't really sniffed the 40-man roster. It had been such a long road. I think just the fact that the Mets had enough confidence in me, considering where I had came from, to put me on the 40-man roster, that meant the world. The Mets are the only team that went out and took a shot on me, and they gave me that confidence that I needed. All the pitching coaches in the minor leagues. I mean, everybody I talked to with the Mets, they had all the confidence in the world in me, and it was just, it was a day I'll never forget. And it most definitely gave me the confidence that I needed to realize that I'm good enough to pitch in the big league. And it was a great day.
So as Mark just mentioned, all of those guys like Matz and Lugo and Gesellman, they all started getting called up. Was that something that made you look forward to? Okay, my turn's coming up, or was it a frustrating thing that my turn hasn't come up?
No, not at all. I mean, you can't worry about what's going to happen. You have no control over that. My goal for the season going into it obviously was to make the team. out of spring training, but I had prepared myself if that didn't happen to just go to Vegas and continue to have fun, because you don't get too many second chances. So just the fact that I was able to get that second chance, I was grateful for that, and I told myself just to go out and continue to throw the ball, and that good things would happen as long as I continue to go out there every day and give it everything I had. I knew I had the tools to be there. It was just really a matter of time, when a spot opened up and they were in the big league team needed me. And so, yeah, I mean, I just went into it with an open mind, and like I said, just controlled what I could control.
It's so interesting. You go through some of the Met stories over the last couple of years, going back to Nelson Figueroa, guys who's rode back to the majors, took these long and winding turns. Buddy Carlisle, R.A. Dickey for that matter. But for a guy like you who had never been to the majors and came with such a high draft pick and such high expectations, you're not that far removed from the Frontier League. What was going through your mind warming up in the bullpen August 19th at AT&T Park when Ricky Bones answers that bullpen phone and turns to you and says, "You're in"? What goes through your mind at that exact moment?
I've been asked that question a lot, and if I'm being 100% honest, I can't really answer it because it was there were so many emotions, and I think the one thing I do remember about it was when they told me I was in the game, my whole body just tensed up. I was actually talking to Addison Reed last year, closer to the end of the season, and he was asking me what I thought about being in the big league so far and all that kind of stuff. And he told me, he said, "You know what?" He said, "I have never felt the way I felt on my big league debut since my big league debut." And he said, "I hope I never feel that way ever again." And I could 100% agree with him. I mean, it's one of the worst feelings in the world, but at the same time, it's something you've worked your butt off to get to, and it's most definitely the greatest feeling in the world at the same time. I mean, it's so hard to explain, but it was definitely something that I had always dreamed of.
You mentioned Addison Reed. Who was your biggest mentor in the Mets bullpen this season for you?
I've got to say Jerry Blevins. From the time I got there, I mean, even in spring training, he kind of took me under his wing, and he's just a great guy. He's a brilliant baseball mind, and we had a lot in common. We both love movies. We would sit in the bullpen and talk about all the goofy movies we like to watch, and try and see how many lines we could quote from it. And then just on the pitching side, little things just here and there that he picked up on that I was doing, and what to watch for certain hitters. I mean, he was great. He's a veteran, and he's a clubhouse guy, and hopefully we have a chance to get him back at some point this year, and I can continue to learn from him. He's been a great teammate.
You opened the door, so I have to have the follow up. Which is which is your favorite Goofy movie between the two of you?
Probably Dumb and Dumber. It's a classic.
Well, as long as that doesn't become your nickname in the bullpen, that'll be fine.
Oh, I hope not.
In speaking to the players, either at the ballpark or on the show over the years we've been doing this show, the team guys rave about Terry Collins' communication skills amongst inside that clubhouse and speaking to players. How did Terry handle you as a young player and help you ease yourself into the majors?
I think the biggest thing with Terry is he's honest. You come across a lot of people in the business world and baseball. I mean, just in life in general, that they get to where they are from not being honest. And literally everything Terry and the Mets, for that matter, said have told me that's going to happen has happened. And that's all I asked for. From the time I got there, I knew what my role was going to be. And he's just, you can talk to him at any time in the day. His door is always open, and you can tell that he genuinely wants best for the guys. And that's something you really look for in a manager, and it makes it a lot easier to come to the field every day.
Now, Met fans have been looking forward to a day when all the young pitchers would be in the starting rotation. If things go okay in spring training, we may finally see that rotation of Syndergaard, DeGrom, Matz, Harvey, and Wheeler. If healthy, and that's a big if, we know that, especially you as well. If healthy, what do you think that pitching staff can accomplish?
Oh, there's no telling. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. It's the five best pitchers in baseball, in my opinion. And I work out with Wheeler, and I was actually talking with him the other day about how scary it really is. Just thinking of those 5 guys. I mean, it's 5 aces on one team, and everybody says that good pitching always beats good hitting, and I mean, I think that's magnified with our 5 starters we have. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it, and I don't see why they can't be the best starting 5 in baseball when they're all healthy and back together, and really help us to get to a World Series and win a World Series.
This could be the year we finally see them all put it together. We're talking to New York Mets pitcher Josh Smoker. The biggest news the Mets made so far this offseason is obviously the re-signing of Yoenis Cespedes. What does having Cess back in a New York Met uniform mean to you?
It's amazing. I've told numerous people that, everybody always asks me what I think about Cespedes. And, obviously the baseball side of it, it's obvious. I mean, he's one of the best players in the game, and you expect that. But, off the field, he's kind of quiet, but he's a great guy. And he's just a good guy to have around. He keeps everything upbeat. And, he's genuinely a good guy. And I think he's great for that clubhouse. And, I'm so happy to have him back. He's a good guy to have around, and I'm really looking forward to see what he can do next year.
You mentioned Cespedes, and you have teammates like Granderson and Wright and all the 5 pitchers we just mentioned. Not quite the Frontier League.
It's not, not even close. It's cool, man. I mean, going into that clubhouse and being on the same field as guys that you grow up watching. It's definitely a dream come true. I mean, I tell you, it made everything that I had to go through to get here definitely worth it, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
It's interesting. One of the players that the Mets did not re-sign this offseason is now with a rival with the Braves. What were you able to learn from watching the way Bartolo Colon goes about his daily routine and the way he's still able to get batters out at the major league level at his age?
I think the biggest thing about Bartolo, and obviously he's a veteran and he's been around longer than most people in the game. Just the way he goes about everything, nothing phases him. I mean, he could give up a grand slam and back-to-back home run, whatever it may be, and he could still finish with 5 shutout innings. I mean, nothing phases him, and he's been in this game for so long. He understands it's a long haul, and that anything can change for the better, and just like that. And watching him out there on the mound, it's impressive. I mean, what he does, throwing 86, 87 miles an hour. Some of the swings he makes guys take, it's absolutely, it's mind-boggling. But at the same time, you realize that he knows how to pitch, and a lot of young guys can learn a lot from watching him, and just about the way he goes about his business, and he's a veteran guy, and he's a true professional.
Not that anyone's counting, but there are 56 days, 3 hours away from when pitchers and catchers report to spring training. What's your offseason been like so far, and what are your plans for the next 56 days and 3 hours?
Just to continue to work out and continue to build a base to where once I get into spring training, I have all the tools and I'm in the shape that I need to be to help the team out in any way I can. I've always been a big workout guy. It's a big passion of mine, and so I try and get into the gym as much as I can, and I just recently started throwing, so that's good, trying to get my arm strength back up to where I can get off the mound. And here recently I've picked up golf and tried to get out there as much as I can. The weather is starting to get a little chilly, but yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to getting down there in Florida in warmer weather and get things rolling.
Just watch that golf thing. Us here in New York in the press and golf and game days can be pretty tough, so just be careful with that.
Oh yeah. I'm not much of an in-season golfer.
Okay.
More of an off-season thing.
I know you were a big auto racing guy growing up. What are you looking forward more to in spring training? Throwing off the mound at Port St. Lucie, or seeing what car Yoenis comes into every day?
Oh, that's a tough one. It's always a treat to see what he's going to be showing up to the field in. I don't think anything tops the horse, to be honest. That's probably the first and last time that'll ever happen at a baseball field. But I tell you, one of the funnier things in that is actually seeing Noah up on a horse.
Yeah.
He was playing it off pretty good. But I got to say, getting off the mound is definitely got to be my number one priority. You know, a long off season, you definitely look forward to getting back out there and getting things rolling.
Lastly, obviously, New Year's, everyone sits down, they make their list, their resolutions. If you were to sit down right now and list your 3 biggest goals as a baseball player for this coming season, what would they be?
Oh, 3 biggest goals. Number one's got to be to get a World Series ring. That's why we play this game, is to win the World Series, and I truly believe that we have the team to do it, and that we're going to definitely give a strong run for it. I think number 2, probably, just be the best pitcher I can be. Go out there every time, give it all I've got, and let the results take care of themselves. But basically, just be as aggressive as I possibly can, and go out there and have fun. And I as number 3, I'd like to get my slider a little bit sharper. There's times where it gets a little bit too loopy and a little slower than I'd want it to be. So I'm going to really work hard on that this off season to sharpen it up a little bit and get it to where I want it to be.
Josh, I want to thank you so much for coming on with us tonight. Good luck this coming season. I'll see you down in Port St. Lucie as well at Citi Field this year, and we can re-examine how close those 3 goals are for this coming season, all right?
Yes, sir. Thanks, guys.
You got it. Josh Smoker of the New York Mets.